Hello and welcome to the Musical Theater Studio. My name is Kyle, and in this video we're going to look at how to do the warm-ups in warm-up video number 1. We'll look at what they are, the goals, and the benefits of each exercise. But before we do that, we want to look at why do we even need to do warm-ups at all? The purpose of warm-ups is to help the brain and body get connected. Just like in sports or dance, anything physical, they're going to stretch as much as they can to get really loose so that when they do the activity, they can do it in a very safe and healthy manner. It's the same playing piano or guitar. We do exercises and warm-ups so that we can make that safe and healthy connection. Well, as a singer, you are a musician playing an instrument. It's just an instrument that you can't see because it's inside of you. So what we want to do is use a mirror when you do these warm-ups so that you can see yourself. But we're not going to look at ourselves the way we do in the morning when we get out of bed and we see all the things that we don't like, which most of us do, or see the things you like. Instead, you, the performer, are seeing the instrument because a lot of times what we think we're doing is not what we're actually doing. But when we can see it, we can see what that instrument is doing, and therefore we can make that healthy connection between the brain and the body. Lip trills, 2 on 1 breath. The exercise goes like this. Alright, so what we're doing is we're vibrating the lips with air. That's the lip trill, lip roll. People call them different things. Now, if you can't do those, don't worry. You might have a little bit of tension in the face. It's quite normal. So what you can do is you can push along this little crease that we have right here. And it's different spots for different people. But if we have... See, it releases just a little bit of the tension that's in there. If you're not having that problem, you can do these. No need to push right there. Now, what we're trying to do with our warm-ups is we're doing what I call the flower approach. My entire training since I was in 6th grade when I started choir, all the teachers go up, 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 up. Everything's always going up. What I like to do is kind of go both directions so that we're stretching it both ways and not teaching our body subconsciously to reach, 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 all right? So we're starting with just a few simple notes that go both directions. Goes up, goes down, and back, right? Now, we're trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone here because we're not only starting small with the notes just to make that connection with our voice, we also want to make a connection with our breath. And so what we're going to do is 2 on 1 breath. So if you notice when I did it before, I didn't breathe in between. Listen. I didn't breathe and I also didn't connect. What I did is called a lift. And if you imagine a record player, you see the record player going down and the needle's down, we hear the sound. But when it lifts up, the energy's still going, but we don't have any sound, right? And that's what we're doing here. We're doing a little lift where we're not breathing, but we're still keeping that energy going, almost like a hot air balloon expanding as we sing. So as you do that, we breathe in, ready, and lift, breathe. Because most of the time in warm-ups, we do this. And those constant breaths, which are quick, not necessary, and actually create more tension, that's how we end up getting anxiety and panic because we've got all this tension in here, and that's why we can't sustain notes to the end. So in our very first warm-up, we're connecting to that breath. This is 5-3-4-3-2-1, which sounds like this. 5-3-4-3-2-1. Okay? Or down here, 5-3-4-3-2-1. But we're not going to sing those numbers, all right? Now the purpose of this exercise is we're going to start slowly opening our register. But notice it's not going up, it's going down. So this is a great one to start in your chest voice, right? So it could be down here, and what we're going to do is we're going to put a consonant, always use a consonant first, then a vowel. I like to always start with aw, A-W, aw, not A-H, as in lollipop, but where the tongue, if this is the teeth, these are the gums, here's the tongue, lollipop, L-A-W is in law and order, law, law. So that tongue is very dropped and relaxed, okay? And we can do, like, let's do a V in front. We'll do va. Or if you're up here, now this is going to be much more in the alto soprano chest voice, va. Okay? Now, we want to use that chest voice because that's right about where we're talking. And in this range, this is where most people talk. If you're a bass, if you're a tenor, might be a little bit higher. Altos, you're typically down in here. And sopranos too, actually, in terms of your natural speaking voice. And what we're doing is we're trying to take our speech into our singing, right? As opposed to putting on a singing voice. So it just goes, okay, that's the pattern. And we're going to do 2 on 1 breath because in our warm-ups, we're always trying to connect the brain to the body. So we're trying to connect with that breath, not only open up the register and our range, but open up our breath as well. So 2 on 1 breath. Let's try a couple. Ready, and lift. Now you breathe. Lift. Now breathe. Lift. Now at this point, around in here, I tend to then go down a half step, and we do 1. Then I might go down another half step, and then we'll go up, and then down, and then up, and then down. And the reason for this is what we're doing is, if you listen to what that top note is, we're slowly going up, working it back down just a little bit, and then jumping to a little higher. So we're slowly opening up that range, and we're fortifying the notes that we've already been singing without always reaching. We can allow this to be a motion of just relaxing, letting it release down. This is staccato, legato. Staccato means separate, legato means connected. And so the exercise goes like this. We start with separate notes, then connect. And the goal of this exercise is to get the diaphragm engaged. And the diaphragm is essential for proper breath control and breath support, right? So if you're doing this correctly, what we want to do is put the thumb in the belly button, let the hand fall. And if we're doing it correctly, we're going to feel just a little pulse down here on these staccato notes. What we don't want to do is force that motion. So you don't want your whole body moving on those staccatos, right? It's just a little bit down here. Now, I always like to start with a consonant and then the vowel, because I want to avoid any glottal attacks when we're warming up. So I'm going to put an H in front, and then I'm going to do an aw, but you can do O, U, E, whatever is best for you, whatever you need for your song that day. But let's do ha for now, all right? So basis, you'd be down here, and we would do ha, 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 right? Tenors, this might be a little low for you because you don't want to start all the way up here this early in the warm-up process, tenors. But altos and sopranos, this would be for your range here. We would have that breath down here. Ha, 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 ha. So I can feel just a little bit of pulse there. I'm not ha, ha, ha. I'm not really trying to push that hard. I don't want that much effort, okay? It should be a natural process if we're engaging correctly. Now, the other thing with this is we want to do 2 on 1 breath, because remember, we're always trying to connect the brain to the body. So we're trying to get a connection to our breath. So we'll do 1, take a lift, and then a breath. All right, here we go. Ready, and lift. Breathe. Lift. And that's staccato, legato. This is head voice to the basement. This exercise is we're going to take our head voice, which is we think about being up here, and typically the higher notes, and taking it all the way down to the basement without flipping. We want to stay in the head voice, okay? So we don't want to go to mix, and we don't want to go to chest. For example, we're going to start here and go down. I'm going to go flu. Oops, I flipped. And you hear that really strong flip, right? So we don't want to do that. We want to stay in the head voice. Now, what we want to do is go really fast at the top, so we really go down, right? And that gives us enough breath support at the bottom to throw the brakes on, because in the lower register, that's where we want to have more control, and we need breath support to control whether or not we stay in our head voice, because the body's going to want to instinctually flip. But us, the performer, is trying to connect to the body and trying to tell the instrument, no, 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 I want you to do this. I want you to stay in the head voice, okay? So let's try one together. Now, I always put a consonant in front. I like to do, for this one, fl, like FL. You can do oo, ah, o, whatever one feels most comfortable. I'm going to do flaw to start, all right? So we're going to do flaw down. Flaw. Good. Now, one of the things that happened was I didn't continually lift my soft palate. And as a result, it got breathy. It's like I let it go, okay? So you want to think about a seesaw. As the notes descend, we're going to lift the soft palate more and more and just continue thinking about it rising up into the head voice, okay? Like it's just floating up and up as that's falling. All right, it's going to go like this. All right, at a certain point, it got breathy because there's a part of your voice where you're just not going to be able to control it. But you can hear the difference between when I let it go the first time, and I let all the air out, versus I kept it lifted and got that resonance in my head voice so that as I went down, I still had as much space open as possible. And then you're going to get to that lower end when it's going to get breathier and a little softer. Don't fight it. Don't force it. That's okay. We're still trying to see how low can we take it, because what this is going to do is it's going to help strengthen the muscles that control your head voice. And as a byproduct, you're going to find that it's going to help strengthen your mix and your chest voice. And that's how we do head voice to the basement. Before we go to the next warm-up, if this warm-up routine is working for you, please click the like button below and also subscribe so you can stay updated as we release other performance-related videos. Now back to the warm-ups. This is head voice rainbows, and what we're going to be doing is 2 sets of 3 rainbows. And what I mean by rainbows is it's going to go up in sort of this shape like a rainbow, and then we do one a little higher, and we do a third a little higher. Then our second set, we start where we left off, and then we're going to go even higher on these, okay? I always like to start with consonants, so I'm going to do FL, and I'll do this one on a flu. On the head voice to the basement, I did aw, so I'm going to shift it now to oo, and I'll do flu. We want to make sure the throat is open to the oo before we start this so that we don't risk starting from like a dead still and go flu, and then flu, and get that sort of attack to our throat, right? We want to make sure, it's just like if you jump, you just don't jump, you have a preparation for it, right? So we want to make sure we're already there and we're prepared for oo, and then we just flick it out, flu, and it's going to go like this. Flu, flu, flu. Second set. Flu, flu, flu. And I'm always trying to lift the soft palate so that I don't reach, flu, and then squeeze and tighten here. Flu. But that's high for me in the upper register, on especially that last 2 that we were doing. So I need to make sure that I'm thinking about letting it relax down so I'm not squeezing either here or with the swallowing muscles, or that I'm reaching my head forward or trying to get that sort of sound, right? We want to have a consistent vowel also so that you don't have anytime your vowel shifts, that's a clue that you might be tensing somewhere, right? So we want to make sure we have a consistent vowel as well. So let's try one of these one more time together. You have flu, and we're going to do flu, flu, flu. Take a second, and we're going to start where we left off for our second set. Nice breath. Flu, flu, flu. Okay, and they're all 3 short, and that's how we do head voice rainbows. This is head voice 5-note descending minor. It sounds like this. Simple 5 notes descending, but in the minor key. And the reason for that is because 99% of the warm-ups I've ever done in my life in choir, voice lessons, rehearsals, everybody uses one particular scale, the major scale. And I like to throw in other scales and other modes into our warm-ups so that we're expanding our ear, because when you can expand your ear, you're going to become a stronger, better singer. It's going to help you singing pop music, R&B, jazz. It's going to help you with scatting, with riffing, all of those other things when we can open up our ear. So I like to throw in these in our warm-up, all right? So this is just a simple minor. If I was doing the major, it'd sound like this. But we're going to be doing minor. Now, hopefully you've already done the head voice to the basement and the head voice rainbow, so you've opened up your head voice. And once we've done that, then we want to now add some pitch. And I always like to use a consonant, so I'm going to use N. It's a pitch consonant, means that it's a consonant you can sing on a pitch. N, right? Now, for example, if I did F, I can't do a pitch on F, because when I add pitch, it becomes V. All right, we'll do in. And I'm going to do oo just because for me on oo, it's very easy to resonate in my head voice. So here we go, 5-note descending. I was not fully open. And that's the other thing you want to make sure is that before you sing that first note, your throat is already open in the position you want to be in. So if we're going to do oo, I need to already be in an oo. Ooh, no. Because if I don't, I'm going to squeeze, all right? No, 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 no. Now, I'm not as picky on this particular one being 2-on-1 breath because for different people, they might need a little bit more breath support in terms of being able to manage. And so they might burn through their breath trying to stay in that head voice. That's okay. So what we're going to make sure is that when you breathe, if you can do 2-on-1 breath, great. But the biggest thing is that we're not doing our breaths like this, the reactive breathing, all right? We always want it to be low and just taking enough air for what you need for that exercise. So you don't necessarily need these big breaths for it, all right? So it's just going to go like this. And we're going to work our way down. And we keep going down, down, down. But as you go down, we want to make sure we stay in the head voice and don't flip to your mix, all right? So as we get down here where it's much more for altos and sopranos, it's much more in the mixy range, stay in that head voice. Now for my tenors or basses, if you're in your head voice here, I flipped. I flipped into my mix and then kind of slid into my chest by the last note, all right? We don't want to do that. We want to go and stay in our head voice, all right? So when we do this exercise, you'll notice it gets slower on the lower end to give your brain time to figure out how to stay in that head voice, like this. See, it gets a little slower. All right, and that's the head voice, 5-note descending minor. This is long 5-note descending. It's 5 long notes. Each one's a little lower than the one before it. And we're going to do a different vowel on each note. So we'll do E, E, A, O, U. And we'll put a consonant in front. You can use any consonant for now. Let's just use V. And we'll do V, Ve, Va, Vo, Vu. And with the E vowel, we want to be careful we don't slide into Ve. V, Ve, A, Ve. As in vet, V, Ve, Va, Vo, Vu. And this exercise is going to work our control over breath support, it's going to improve intonation and our consistency of vowels, and we'll get into all of that in just a second. It's going to go like this. Here's our starting note, and it goes Fee, Fe, Fa, Vo, Vu. Okay? And now what we're doing with in terms of breath support is we got to get a really good low breath, because up until now in our warm-ups, we've been doing short little phrases, little cells, okay? Even though we've been doing 2-on-1 breath, they've been short little phrases. Now we've got a long phrase where we got to drive that air from the beginning all the way through the end so that we have a consistent volume. And what's going to happen is if we don't have consistent air, we can have different levels of dynamics. We could start loud, Fee, Fa, and then we start running out of air and it gets softer and squeezing, right? Or if we don't have consistent air, the dynamics can go up and down. And so it's just kind of all over. We want to get consistency, right? Okay. And then in terms of improving intonation, a couple things can happen here. We can end up scooping on the notes. Okay, that little scooping. We want to put that note right at the top. So that consonant, especially if you use a pitch consonant, we can put it right on the note. V, instead of V, V, ve, not V, ve. Okay, or we can end up pushing down. That's the other thing that can happen. As we're descending, if we don't think about the notes rising, we'll actually overshoot it like this. V, ve, va, vo, vu. See, I was going down and up and down and up because I was pushing down. But the notes go down, think about climbing stairs. So we're actually going to imagine that the notes are going up. even though we're singing down. Fee, fa, fa, fo, fu. Okay? And then with the consistency of vowels, we want to make sure that whatever vowel we're starting on, it always sounds that way so that we're not slipping through. All right? So, vi, I. E slides into I if we're not careful. Fi, ve, we talked about earlier, slides into A. Ve, va, a can slide into okay. Va, and then that gets pinched up into that NH sort of sound, right? Or vu, again, we're pinching. We want to keep those nice and open and consistent. Fi, fa, fa, fo, vu. And that's the long 5-note descending. This is Fee Yaw, and that's yaw with a Y, Fee Yaw. This exercise we're going to use to really open up our register, right? That's why it's the last one in the series, because you can use this to use your chest voice all the way up into the upper end of your belt, or you can use it to transition from your chest to your mix, strengthen the range of your mix, or to do that transition from your mix into your head voice. All depends on your goal. It's a very versatile exercise. It goes like this. Okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to do Fee all the way up until the top note where we do Yaw. And we want to make sure with the Yaw we do Yaw, like a slow Y, so that we don't pop Fee Yaw like that and pop the jaw forward. Fee Yaw. Okay, so it's going to go like this. For basses, that would be down here. Fee Yaw. Okay? Now, as you get into that upper range of your belt, not your highest note, but the upper range as you're getting close to it, you might experiment with changing to Fee Yaw because the A vowel can tend to naturally bring it a little bit more forward and make it easier. But if that's not the good vowel for you, stay on A or go to E, whatever is most comfortable. We want the comfortable vowel here. All right, so I'll do it here as a tenor, and I'll do Fee Yaw first. Fee Yaw. That top note had a little wavering. It was open, but not fully. Okay, so now I'm going to try Fee Yaw. Fee Yaw. Still a little bit off in there with the pitch and wavering on the top note. So I'm going to make sure I'm going a little bit slower, and that as I drop here, I'm thinking about going up and over with that top note. Fee Yaw. Okay? And that's how we do the Fee Yaw exercise. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you'd like to work one-on-one, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced, please go to my website listed below, themusicaltheaterstudio.com, where you can learn all about me and the services that I offer. My goal is to help you become the best performer you can be. So don't forget to click the like button and subscribe so you can stay updated as I release more videos to help you on your journey.